Hello, hello, hello. This is Des from According to Des. Welcome to my podcast. So glad you could join me today. Recently, if you listened to my last episode, Mark and I decided to go on an adventure. I start work in person again next week, Tuesday to be exact. I've been off of work for a while. We went virtual in March, and then I do work in a school, so I did have the summer off and, preparing to go back in person, which didn't end up happening right away, but I do go back in person next week. So Mark and I decided to take the opportunity to kind of live out a dream or a goal that we have had for a long time, which is kind of working on the go, working from somewhere else. I planned it kind of last minute. We ended up going to Yellowstone and Grand Tetons for, it was like a week and a half. So we left on Friday, October 2nd, and we drove the 8 hours it was to Jackson Hole. That's where our hostel was. We decided to stay in Jackson Hole, even though it's pretty far from Yellowstone, because we were planning to work Monday through Friday. We weren't taking time off, and we were just going to explore Grand Teton after work Monday through Friday, which Grand Teton was only 5 minutes from our hostel, which was amazing. So we could just go over to there anytime we wanted, and driving around the whole thing was about 2 hours from our hostel. So that was really, really convenient. What was not convenient was Yellowstone. Yellowstone was like 2.5 to 3 hours away. So basically, our plan was that we would explore Yellowstone on the weekends and Grand Teton during the week after work. The first weekend, oh my gosh, we woke up so early and we got on the road about 7. Yes, that's really early for me. I am not a morning person, and Mark likes to think that he is, but he is not. So we are both not morning people. It takes us a very long time to get out of bed. It takes us a very long time to get ready and get out the door. But thankfully we did on Saturday, our first Saturday, get out the door around 7-ish, and we drove the 3 hours to Yellowstone. And it was just the most incredible day. We saw so many amazing things. So many just incredible, unique things that I can't even describe. It felt like another planet. These things that we saw, these hot springs, these geysers, these mud volcanoes, all these amazing things were just otherworldly. It was really, really incredible. I couldn't believe how many amazing things we saw in one day. I really feel like I took like 500 pictures just that one Saturday. So that was really cool. We just hopped all around. We saw Old Faithful, we saw Biscuit Basin, we saw the artistic painted pots, which was one of my favorites. We saw West Thumb, which was one of my favorites. Really, really cool stuff. It was incredible. If you want to look at pictures, I did post pictures from the trip on my Facebook page, According to Des. I post all my travel videos and pictures in there. And you could also check out videos on TikTok. I did post videos on TikTok. I'm also According to Des on there. Really, really amazing. The not amazing part was driving home that night. I think we started driving home around 7:45-ish. So it was a 3-hour drive, and the roads were just covered in elk. Covered in elk. There were elk everywhere. It was terrifying. It was really cool to see them, but they were always on the side of the road or in the middle of the road. It was really scary, actually. That was a little tough to drive home for 3 hours with just being on guard and hyper aware of the elk and the wild animals and the bison. So that was the toughest part, and we were just exhausted from the day. We were out all day, literally from 7 a.m. out the door until we got back at 10 or 11, whatever time we got back. I can't remember. I did journal the whole trip, so I will be writing a blog about each day, a Yellowstone blog and a Grand Teton blog. So I will be referencing my journal for more accurate information. So we drove home, and the next day we had to do it all over again. So the next day, actually, we had a really bad day. Nothing was going right. Everything was going wrong, and we were just having a really tough morning. I got really sick. That took a while to feel better and take medicine, and I was laying in the car, and I just didn't feel well at all. And we were going on a 2-hour walk, so I was really nervous about it. So we really didn't get started on Sunday until almost 2 o'clock is when we started our day, even though we had left our hostel around, I think it was 8 o'clock. So we got out the door pretty late, and then we drove for 20 minutes before we realized that we forgot something at the hostel and we had to go back. So that was very frustrating. it added like an extra almost hour to our to our drive. So that was very, very frustrating. But we finally got into the park, and then we were very hungry, and that was the thing too. So people were saying to me that, wow, this trip must have been really expensive. You must have spent so much money on it. And while it was pricey, it was very, very cheap. We always try to travel as cheap as we possibly can. So that's why we stay in hostels and Airbnbs, which are not always the greatest. I really did not like our second place we stayed. We did stay at two places because the following weekend we were exploring North Yellowstone. On the following Friday, a week later, we did drive to a new Airbnb. So we stayed in a hostel the first week from Friday to Friday, and then we stayed in an Airbnb for the second weekend. The first hostel, it was nice, it was big, but it was not clean. So it was very, very dusty, and the blankets weren't clean. The sheets on the bed were clean, but the blankets they left for us were not. So we did not use those. Thankfully, I brought blankets with us for the car ride, and I brought one for our cat Lily because we did bring her with us. So we ended up using these mini blankets at night when we were chilly because the first night we couldn't figure out how to work the heat. The heat the whole time was an issue, but that's another story. The heat was a big issue. So the first hostel, it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't great. But that's one of the ways that we save money. So our biggest expense, obviously, was our accommodations. The second Airbnb, oh my gosh, it was horrific. I hated it. First of all, it was two tiny beds, and Mark and I couldn't fit in one of the beds together. So the whole weekend we had to sleep in separate beds, so that was kind of funny. The place was very dirty. The floor mat to the shower was disgusting. I literally had to take my towel that they left for me, and it was like a very nice clean towel. I was excited to use it because I had brought my own towel, but I felt like it was kind of dirty because I had used it all week. So I was excited to use a nice new towel, but I had to put my towel on the floor as a floor mat because the floor mat was so dirty. The sink was dirty. It was obviously not cleaned. There was hair on it and stuff. It was so bad. The shower was really dirty. And the worst part was that the shower head came below my head. So the shower head was like to my forehead or my chin, something like that. So I'm much, much shorter than Mark. And we had to bend all the way down and back to wash our hair when we showered. But the worst part was this. So we did bring our cat Lily with us, and we were very nervous about having her in the room all day because we knew we were going to be out for like 12 or so hours a day because, first of all, with Yellowstone, the first time we had a 3-hour drive to and from. So that was already 6 hours. And then we had the whole day. So we knew we were going to be out for a while. So we did buy a pet cam to bring with us, and we set it up in the room, which was really nice. She was fine in the first hostel. We felt really comfortable. A lot of people had pets. We felt really good. The hostel themselves had a cat and a dog that were running around. So we felt fine in the first place because also they weren't going to be cleaning the room for the week. Due to COVID, they were cleaning all the rooms after we left, even though we found a dirty mask and a dirty sock in the room, which obviously they did not clean the room and it was really dusty. But anyway, so we knew she would be safe. The doors locked and everything. We had the webcam set up. We were able to check her throughout the day when we had service. We did not have good service in Yellowstone, but when we did, we would pull over and check on her, and she was always sleeping in bed. She was fine. The second place we stayed at, the Airbnb, there was no cell service. There was no Wi-Fi, nothing. So we were a little nervous about not being able to check on Lily during the day. And the worst part was the second day that we came home on Sunday. So we were out all day Saturday in North Yellowstone, all day Sunday in North Yellowstone. We came back Sunday night and our door was open. So the way it was set up was that you walk into this building and it's one floor and there are 4 bedrooms. And we were in the far right bedroom. So there were 2 bedrooms across from each other, and then next door there were 2 bedrooms across from each other. And our door was open. We freaked out. We made sure Lily was okay. We didn't know if somebody broke in. We checked our stuff. Nothing was missing. So we didn't know what happened. Then we realized that the door doesn't close all the way. It didn't latch. So even though the door was locked, you could just push it open. So Mark discovered what happened. Mark went to cook our dinner. He shut our door. And when he shut our door really hard, I guess because of the wind or air pressure or whatever from the long, empty hallway, it popped one of the other doors open. He walked by and saw that there were people sleeping in their bed, and he accidentally opened their door just by closing ours. So he thinks that's what happened. He thinks that somebody else closed their door and ours popped open. So the worst part was not being able to check on Lily and not knowing if we had accidentally opened the door in the morning, not realizing when we went to leave, or if somebody shut their door and opened it. We don't know how long it was open. It could have been 5 minutes before we came home. It could have been when we left 12 hours earlier. So that was pretty nerve-wracking. We were pretty shaken by that. We were working from our trip, so we had our work laptops, we had our personal laptops. So it was really nerve-wracking that we came home and our door was open. Obviously, Lily is our most important thing that we had with us. Thankfully, she was okay. One of the other ways we save money besides Airbnbs and hostels, and I have to say that horrible Airbnb that we had, that is not normally how it goes. We always, since I think 2012 or 13, have been staying in Airbnbs, and overall we've had very good experiences. We've had only a handful of bad experiences in all those years. We normally always love our Airbnbs, and they're really nice and pretty, and the people or other guests are great. The past few we haven't really liked, but it hasn't been really an issue, but this one was pretty horrible. So another way we saved money for this trip was that we brought all of our own food. So we knew that we were going to be in national parks all day, every day, besides the days that we were working. So we brought all of our own food because we also didn't think that the food in the national park area or at the visitor center or whatever was going to be great. And we were right. There were a few days that we did have to eat out because one day we forgot our little cooking stove at the room, so we had to buy our food. Another day we were really hungry and it was really windy or something and we couldn't cook, so whatever, we did have a few meals. In Jackson Hole Town Square we spent a day, so we ate out there. I think we ate out 3 or 4 times. The food was very overpriced and not good. So we were right to bring our own food. We packed like rice-a-ronis, mac and cheeses, ramens, things like that, which the ramen was actually nice because it got so cold at night, so it was nice to have like a hot soup. We cooked all of our own meals. Mark has this little stove that we cooked on in a little pan and pot, so that's how we cooked. So we saved a ton of money that way. So we really only spent money on our accommodations and gas. That was really how we spent our money, and then souvenirs, obviously. I only bought 2. So yeah, overall it was a great trip. Our first weekend was in Yellowstone, and then Monday after work we went and did a quick hike and went and saw the sunset, which was beautiful. Tuesday did not work out. Tuesday, Mark had a big project due Wednesday and he worked all night until like midnight. So we went out for dinner that night because I was like, let's get out of the room at least a little bit. But then again, our food was not good. We went to a restaurant that we did not like and the food was not good. Tuesday was pretty much a bust. Wednesday and Thursday were amazing. We saw really cool things. We saw moose, we saw bears, we saw bison, we saw antelope, we saw elk. It was really, really cool. We saw all the fall leaves and everything, the fall foliage. It was gorgeous. Thursday, we went to Jackson Hole Town Square, which was such a cute town. We loved it. We went in all the little shops and all the little places and art galleries and stuff. We walked around. We saw the street art. It was really, really cool. We loved it. We went to Elk Refuge, which they say there's over 5,000 elk in Elk Refuge. We did not see one single one. I don't know how. We drove around this whole place. We drove around for over an hour. We did not see one single elk. We literally saw more elk in a parking lot than we saw in this national elk refuge. But we did see a lot of antelope, which was really cool. They're really, really cute. We loved them. So it was worth going in there. That was kind of cool. And then we did, because I have the national park pass from my dad and stepmom, that was one of my Christmas presents, we did just come and go in Grand Teton as we pleased. So we did go in Grand Teton once we were done in the town just to, catch the sunset and just drive around, which was nice. And then Friday after work, we checked out. We drove through Grand Teton and we went to our second accommodations, that horrible Airbnb. And Saturday and Sunday were pretty shocking. We were spending those 2 days in North Yellowstone and it was freezing. Oh my goodness. We didn't realize that it was going to get so cold, but thank goodness I thought ahead of time because I didn't know the weather. I didn't look it up or anything. I just brought everything. I brought all my rain stuff. I brought all my winter stuff. I brought hiking stuff. I just brought everything that I thought I might need. I pretty much packed as if we were going to Iceland. We did Iceland in 2017, and I kind of just brought everything because, I don't know, I feel like Yellowstone is like the Iceland of the United States. It's pretty unique in that way with the weather and all the geysers and hot springs and everything. So I kind of packed as if I was going to Iceland and just kind of brought everything. Thank goodness I did, because it got down to the 30s and 40s the second weekend, and it was snowing so much on Sunday. That was really interesting. We spent the second weekend in North Yellowstone, which was really, really cool. Also, we did a lot of pullovers and just kind of drove around and stopped at random places, and it was really cool. And then Monday we had our drive home, so we worked from the car. That was like a 10-11 hour drive. Mark had meetings in the morning, he did that, and then we got on the road. It was an adventure. It was really cool. I don't know that working on the go is for us necessarily, because some days really stressed to be out, just wanting to get out, and Mark had a meeting, or I had a training or a meeting or something, or a webinar I had to do. So I don't know necessarily if traveling on the go is for us. I loved that we tried it and we experimented with it. I really felt like I would have regretted it if I didn't try. And if we do happen to go virtual again, we are going to try it again. I don't know if it's exactly for us. I much rather go on vacation and not have to worry about work at all. So anyway, that was my trip. It was really, really cool. Let me know if you've been to Grand Teton or Yellowstone. I would love to hear about your trip. So basically, we spent 4 days in Yellowstone, 4 days in Grand Teton. And like I said, I posted pictures and videos on my Facebook page and TikTok, which are according to Des, but I am going to be posting a blog and YouTube videos, so look out for that. I started the blog, but I didn't finish it yet. I'm going to do a Yellowstone one and a Grand Teton one. It's just too much happened. We saw too many things, so I'm going to separate it into 2 different blogs. So awesome. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear about what you have going on, any trips you have taken recently or have planned, or if you've been to any other national parks. I would love to hear about it. We did buy a national park passport book, so I'm so excited to fill that out. That's going to be really fun to keep track of all the national parks we've been to. I think we've been to 4 or 5 now, and we're going to be going to 5 in the next year, I think, because there's some around us here in Colorado. Join my Facebook group. It's facebook.com/groups/ according to Des. That is always a tongue twister for me. I don't know why. Every time I record this podcast, I mess that part up. I don't know why. But join me there. I am going to be changing the name of the group soon, and I am going to be kind of focusing in on what I'm doing in there, and I'm going to be having challenges in there. So my first one is going to be overcoming negative self-talk. Join for that. It'll be really good. I will be launching that hopefully in the next 2 months, because I still have to work on the content and PDFs and stuff like that. And like I said, I am going back to work, so I'm not going to have nearly as much time to work on things. Thank you for listening, and hope to see you in all my other social medias. Please subscribe and share this episode and comment. Thank you. Till next time.